Greetings, everybody, and welcome to week number 2 of season 8 of the Lyons Den Quiz League. We are back after a successful week number 1. I finished in second place, which is very, very solid, only 0.02 points ahead of third. But yeah, we're going to be moving on to another week. There are some tough quizzes in this one. I think it probably won't go quite as well for me, but you never know. Because who knows if some of my guesses are or are not going to pan out. So, I'm a little bit sick. Sorry if that comes through in my voice, but it should be okay, I think. So yeah, we are going to jump in to quiz number 1, which is all about dance. Starting with the Carlton, which can be seen below, is named after Carlton Banks, a character played by Alfonso Ribeiro on what TV show? Other recurring characters include Jazz, who played by DJ Jazzy Jeff. I have no idea. The first thing that came to mind was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I don't really know anything about it. I mean, it just seems like a plausible answer to me, and I haven't really thought of anything else that makes more sense. But you know, there are a lot of options because it could be, well, anything. I just don't know what's being included, so I'm just going to guess the Fresh Prince. I can't even talk right now. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and move on to question 2. The waggle dance is a communication pattern associated with which animals, which use it to communicate the locations of food sources or other points of interest? No idea. Peacocks. I've never heard of anything in this question. There's not really anything I can do to narrow it down as far as I can tell. So, yeah, peacocks. Question 3. The musical and film Billy Elliot tells the story of a young boy who wants to do ballet while his father wants him to undertake what other sport? There is real-life overlap between this sport and dance. Vasyl Lomachenko, one of the greatest active athletes in this sport, was required to take ballet lessons before starting sport-specific training, perhaps to improve his footwork. This one is interesting because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I was thinking about it for a while, and I was like, well, I mean, one of the greatest active athletes in this sport, and I've never heard of the guy. So that means it's a sport that I'm not interested in, right? Because if it was, I would have heard of him. So I thought it could be like, soccer, for example, but I would know who it was. So I was like, what's a sport where footwork is important that isn't interesting to me? And also, like, there's also the element of like, I feel like the idea here is probably that ballet is more of like a traditionally kind of feminine thing, and he wants to do ballet, but that's considered probably like taboo or unusual or something, and his father wants him to do something more like manly, if you know what I mean. So I thought of things like volleyball, for example, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense either, because that doesn't seem like, sure, like footwork is important in volleyball, but like it doesn't seem in like fencing, for example. There were a few ideas I had that just didn't seem to make much sense. My thought was like boxing, I think makes a little more sense, and it could be like wrestling, or I could be fully off, by the way. Again, I am totally guessing here. I don't know, but it seems like I know it's set in the UK. I feel like boxing is, I don't know, it's certainly a thing there. And it just made me think, okay, footwork is obviously a very important thing in boxing, even though I don't tune into boxing. And also, Lomachenko sounds probably Ukrainian, and I know that there are a lot of Russian, like, boxers, MMA fighters. I don't know about Ukrainian, but again, it makes sense, and I haven't thought of a better thing, so this is just my justification for, again, my guess that is probably wrong anyway. Question 4. Choreographer Septime Webre has adapted many literary works into ballet form. One of these ballets has characters, including Michael Darling, and a character known only as Crocodile. Which book is it an adaptation of? I don't know, but I'm going to say Peter Pan, because the person's name is Darling, and Wendy Darling is the protagonist, or, one of the protagonists of Peter Pan. And I'm not gonna think of a better guess, because I don't know who Crocodile is, but there might be a crocodile in Peter Pan. I don't know. And Darling is certainly the name. So hilariously, that's probably the answer I feel most confident about in this whole quiz, and I'm still just totally guessing. But like, this quiz is just insane, and I don't know what any of these things are. Question 5: which Hispanic ballroom dance imitates a bullfight? which gets its name because the quick music used for it was used during military movements to give soldiers a tempo to march quickly to. I don't know. Salsa, tango, samba, like I thought of a few things. None of them sound like they fit the last clue. I don't know what the whole soldiers thing is, but I can't think of anything else. So I'm going to say salsa because that's a thing that exists and that's about all I know. And finally, question 6. The artist Chubby Checker is perhaps best known for the twist, but he also provided lyrics to a song commonly used while playing What Game, which itself is arguably a dance. And it fills in each blank in the following lyrics, blah, blah, blah. I've never heard of these in my life. I'm going to say like hula, like a hula hoop, because like that, you could argue that that's a dance, like going like that, you know what I mean? Spinning the hula hoop around your waist. And I don't know. I mean, I figure it's a 2-syllable thing. Every hula boy and girl all around the hula world gonna do the hula rock all around the hula clock. I mean, it has a ring to it, right? So I'm going to go with that. But is hula a game? I don't know, but have I thought of a better answer? Absolutely not. So that's what I'm going with. And I think I'm going to enhance 4, which is insane because I've never heard of this guy. I've never heard of the ballet, but I see the word darling. I think Peter Pan, and that is somehow the most concrete thing that I've been able to latch onto in this entire quiz. So Peter Pan it is. I might have 0 out of 6 here, genuinely. I hope I have at least 1 or 2, but this is a brutal one. Yeah, just totally outside my wheelhouse. So, submitting Peter Pan 3 out of 6. Wait, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was right? That's crazy. I did not think that was... Boxing I felt okay about. I was like, that makes sense. Like, sure, there are probably other options, but it definitely fits all the clues at least. Peter Pan makes sense. I mean, I felt okay about that one. But the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that was a shot in the dark. I can't believe that was right. The others, like what? I mean, Limbo, sure. I mean, Limbo's a thing. What did it refer to? It referred to it as a game. I guess Limbo's a game where you go under the thingy. And also a dance. I mean, fair enough. Yeah. But like, I don't think I was ever picking that up. I don't think that any of those clues were going to lead me there. I thought hula was an okay guess. Paso Doble I've never heard of in my life. And then honeybees, sure. Again, the little dance thing. I mean, without having heard of the specific thing, I don't really see a way to get that question. So I feel very okay with how that went. 3 out of 6 is not great in the grand scheme of things for how I normally do, but that was a really hard quiz. So I'm fine with it. Next, quiz 2. All the questions below are inspired by interesting Wikipedia links that various people have shared with Looney at some point. Starting with question 1, the painting Sleeping Lady with Black Vase was thought to have been lost after World War II until an art historian randomly saw it in a movie and tracked down the set designer who sold it for $300,000. Named the film, whose main character was depicted as an animal, even though the children's novel it was based on describes him as a tiny boy who merely looks like an animal. My first thought was like Robin Hood, because I know that Robin Hood is like depicted as a fox in the Disney movie, but is not a fox, I think, normally. But I don't think that made sense because like it's not based off a novel. Like Robin Hood is like an old legend in like Nottingham or whatever, so I figured that doesn't make sense. So I thought for a little longer, and I thought of something that I actually feel pretty good about, which is Stuart Little. Because this is a movie I remember like watching this movie when I was like maybe 5 or 6, which would have been like 2005, 2006. So I could see it being a 1999 movie. I mean, if I had to guess, I would have said it's 2005 or 2006, because if I was watching it at that time, I would have assumed it was more of a new movie. But it's possible, and I know that Stuart Little in the movie is a mouse, and I was just trying to think of movies that have like, I don't know, animals as main characters, and that one just occurred to me. I was like, huh, that could work. Like Stuart Little could be a tiny boy in the novel and a mouse in the movie. So we'll see. If you look up Hebrew character on Wikipedia, you'll find not a page about the Hebrew alphabet, but a page about an insect called the Hebrew character due to the nun-shaped markings on its wings. What kind of insect is the Hebrew character? Other kinds of this insect include the lime green Luna type, the large Atlas type, and the spotted Polyphemus type. I want to say it's a moth. I think the Luna moth is a thing, although I might be confusing it with something else, but it makes sense. It's an insect that has markings on its wings, so it makes sense if it would have like large wings. And moths very much do. I absolutely hate them. There are there are a few creatures out there that scare me more than moths, which is a funny thing because it's like they're obviously harmless. But man, I don't know. It's like it's probably if anybody asks me if I have any phobias, that's the first thing I say. I just say large bugs because it's weird. Like a moth scares me way more than like a bee. Like bees are small. I know that they can sting you, but they're small. So it's like fine, but like the large things just freak me out. Like if a moth is like flying towards me, I will genuinely freak out. I don't know what it is, but like the large bugs are so scary to me. Anyway, hopefully this is a moth and I'm not confusing it with something else. Question 3. The word mugazegele, literally meaning a housefly's scrotum and casually referring to a small unit of length, is an expression from what historic region? A salute referring to the phrase Leck mich am Arsch also refers to this region in southern Germany that spans Baden-Württemberg, it should be, but, close enough, and Bavaria. So I don't know, I feel kind of embarrassed because like this is like kind of a geography question, at least more so than most of the rest. But I don't really know historic regions of Germany. I know a lot of districts and I know the states, but I don't know the historic regions. And it spans Bavü and Bavaria. I don't know what that would be. Like what is southern Germany called? Like I don't know. The best thing I came up with was Franconia because I think that's I want to say that's like northern Bavaria is Franconia. The whole spanning thing makes me think it's like the entirety of both states, but maybe that just means it has parts in both states, and it's possible that Franconia, in addition to Bavaria, has some parts in Baden-Württemberg. So that's going to be my guess, but I think it's probably wrong, and I wish I had a better guess, but I can't think of anything else. So I got to learn my historical regions, apparently. Question 4. The first American woman to earn a PhD in comp sci was also a Catholic nun. Her 1965 dissertation concerned what early programming language developed by IBM that was called a formula translator in its manual and influenced many later languages like BASIC and MATLAB. So I was totally lost on this because I don't know, I know hardly anything about computer science and programming languages. But after reading it closely, I noticed the whole formula translator thing. If you take the first parts of those words, you get Fortran, which I'm pretty sure is a programming language. I know it's a computer-related thing. And I think it is a language. So it's definitely the best guess I'm going to come up with because formula, translator, the fact that that's put in the question as a clue and the fact that it's in quotes makes me think that's something I should be paying attention to. So I think Fortran is a thing. I'm going to guess that. I'm not positive that it's correct, but I feel okay about it. Question 5. The legendary mountaineer Alan Hinks, who had to be airlifted out of the Himalayas after inhaling flour that caused him to sneeze so hard he injured his spine, has been nicknamed the Blank Man as a result. What simple flatbread, which is unleavened unlike naan, and less flaky than paratha, fills in the blank? This should be roti. There are 2 common names for it. One of them is roti. The other one, isn't it like chapati, I think is the other one? I don't know for sure, but roti is definitely what we're talking about here. So I'm just going to say roti. And finally, question 6. This is just, like, whatever. After American soldier rescued a young woman while serving abroad in the 1920s, she revealed herself to be Queen Timamen of La Gonâve, and she invited him to rule the island of La Gonâve for 3 years, etc., etc. La Gonâve is in Haiti. This is just the big bay. Port-au-Prince is just out of frame to the east. I think this is pretty gettable. I don't know, especially among people in a geography-oriented Discord server, people are going to recognize this, especially because you can kind of see the whole Tiburon Peninsula, I think it's called, in the south. So, yeah. Anyway, Gonâve Island is the largest island, I think, in Haiti, aside from Hispaniola, if you count that. So, I don't know what to enhance, though. Stuart Little, I feel okay about it. I think it makes sense, but I don't feel good enough to enhance. Same deal with Fortran. I think it's a thing. I'm not positive it's a programming language. It's probably right, isn't it? But like, even if it is right, it feels like the type of thing that a lot of people will know, and I just don't know because I'm under a rock when it comes to computer science. So, Moth is a guess. Franconia is a guess. I'm going to go with Roti because I don't know how easy or hard this is. It might be really easy, but everything else just seems a little too iffy for me to enhance. So I'm going to go with 5. And we'll see if that ends up being a mistake. Why are you giving me so many crosswalks, man? Just please let... Really? Give me... Okay. Thank you. Roti or chapati, indeed. Fortran, let's go. Swabia. Damn. Okay. Well, moth is correct, not butterfly. I mean, that's good. Again, I was pretty sure the Luna moth was a thing. Stuart Little was correct. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. Swabia, I've heard of Swabia, and that's a skill issue. Like, that's absolutely a skill issue. I should totally know what that is, but it didn't come to me. Like, if you asked me what Swabia was before this, I don't think I would have been able to tell you. So that's my fault. That is definitely my fault, but I won't forget what it is now. And the rest are correct. Again, formula translation, I figured out what was going on there. And Stuart Little, I'm glad that line of thought got me to the right place. So nice. 5 out of 6. Nice little bounce back from quiz 1. Heading into pop culture, which is all about things revolving around the word big. Starting with question 1, while fans don't usually say I'm such a Mr. Big, the character nicknamed Mr. Big was still a major character on what show, as he had an on and off relationship with a newspaper columnist who was the show's protagonist. Man, I thought of a guess for this, and I know I don't even remember what my guess was. I mean, it's just going to be a random guess, because, like, obviously I don't know, because it's TV, and I don't know TV. What was my guess for this? Dude. What was my guess? Why do I not remember? I just thought of a random show that felt decent to me. I genuinely don't remember. I'm going to come back to it. Question 2, name the song by the Notorious B.I.G., whose chorus, which samples Slick Rick's La-Dee-Da-Dee, says, Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just blank me. Song's one-word title fills in the blank. I have literally no idea. Flatter, because that's something that words can do, I guess. I don't know. Question 3, the big 3 entertainment agencies dominate the signing of pop artists in what country? They are YG, JYP, and SM. And then a bunch of artists I've never heard of in my life. I'm going to say South Korea, because these sound like they could be K-pop bands, and it's probably going to be like J-pop or Mando-pop or something, and it's going to be one of the other things. But I feel like K-pop, it just seems like the most reasonable guess for me to make here, with a bunch of pop bands that I've very much never heard of. It just sounds like a K-pop thing. Question 4, Nate Big Easy Lofton and Herb Flight Time Lang were members of what comedic exhibition basketball team? And they were better known for appearing rather fittingly as a team on The Amazing Race. This is the Harlem Globetrotters. I've seen them in person, actually. I've seen Big Easy and Flight Time. That was a good time in I don't know, New York in probably 2007 or 2008 when it was when that happened. But anyway, kind of a cool thing. Question 5, what food is described as a big lump with knobs in a viral video where the Gregory brothers auto-tuned and added music to an interview with a 7-year-old Tariq Toll? Again, like, I don't know what it is this week with questions that I just have no idea on. There's been a fair few of them so far. I'm going to say artichoke, but I have no idea. But an artichoke is kind of a big lump that has one knob at least. But I guess the little leaves could be called knobs, question mark? Not really. I don't know. I don't have a better guess. I haven't thought of another food that's more like this. So artichoke it is. Question 6, in a rare exception to the standard no outside contact rule, contestants or housemates on a March 2020 episode of the German edition of what reality show were allowed to call their families to learn about worldwide pandemic news? I hope this is Big Brother, because I think that this is the concept behind Big Brother, like people living in a house and cut off from the outside world. And also the theme of the quiz, I realized a little bit later, is big. And I don't think the word big shows up in this question. It shows up in all the other ones. So that makes me think that big is in the answer. So it probably is Big Brother. And then as for question 1, which again, I don't... Oh, Arrested Development. That was the answer I came up with. Arrested Development. That is a show that exists, and that is all I know about it, other than like something about frozen bananas. Yeah, so here we go. I don't feel very good about this quiz. I think I might enhance Harlem Globetrotters, or do I enhance Big Brother? Those are the two that I feel okay about. I mean, Big Brother is surely the answer, given the whole big theme, but that also seems really knowable. So is Harlem Globetrotters, to be fair. But I feel like people outside the U.S. might not know what that is, so I'm going to go with 4. Don't know if that's a mistake or not. Uh, okay. 3 out of 6. Yeah, all the guesses were wrong. Oh, actually, South Korea was a guess. That was correct. I mean, I felt a little better about that guess than the rest of them, which yeah, makes sense that it turned out this way. Hypnotized, never heard of it. Sex in the City. Yep, that is a TV show that exists, but I could not have told you a character on it. And then Corn on the Cob. What was it? A knob or a lump with knobs? Honestly, that's not at all how I would describe corn on the cob, but I guess it kind of makes sense. So fair enough. Sure. 3 out of 6. Again, that's the type of thing that you probably just have to know what the thing is, otherwise you're not going to get it right. But yeah, sure. 3 out of 6. It's honestly, this has not been a very good start to the week, but I've had worse. So have I had worse? I think I've had worse. Yes, I've had pop culture quizzes where I've gotten like 1 or 2. But it's definitely a rough start. So hoping that the next few quizzes go a little better, which I think, fingers crossed, they should. Number 1, this is a map quiz, by the way. These are all about maps, whether they're real or fictional. Number 1, this map shows some of the locations visited within what 1729 novel? This is Gulliver's Travels. I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't see Lilliput and Brobdingnag on here, but I do see, Glubdrubdrib, which is like the most Gulliver's Travels word I've ever heard. And we also just randomly have like Japan. I don't know, like it says Japan, but it looks like Japan. And the Sea of Japan is called the Sea of Core. I don't know. Anyway, it's a map with a bunch of nonsense on it, which sounds like Gulliver's Travels to me. Question 2, this is a map of the metro system in what major city? Had to think about this one for a while, but I mean, I say a while, it was probably like 2 minutes, but it didn't come to me immediately because there wasn't anything here that was like a dead giveaway. But I think surely that this is Buenos Aires, not only because the water is to the northeast, which fits the direction of the water in Buenos Aires, but also, I mean, General San Martin is somebody who's mentioned all over the place in Argentina. Like Santa Fe is a super common thing. We have, what else do we have? We have San Juan, we have Jujuy, we have Belgrano. Again, these are all super, super common things in like place names and street names in, across Argentina. La Plata, and then there's some Italian stuff, Plaza Italia, Scalabrini, like Palermo, Aguero, like as in like Sergio Aguero, maybe, I don't know. Either way, surely this is Buenos Aires. Question 3, name this region whose Pelican Town contains a plot of land the player inherits from their grandfather. It titles the game it appears in. This one did take me a little longer, but I think that this hopefully is Stardew Valley, because like the whole plot of land thing makes me think it's like I don't know, that makes me think of like farming, right? And I know that Stardew Valley is like a farming game. I think it's a game where you just kind of play endlessly and like farm food, I guess. I mean, I've never played it, so I can't really bash it, but I don't really get it. Like, I don't really get what's interesting about that personally. Like, I feel like if a game doesn't have like an end goal or whatever, then I kind of feel similarly to Minecraft. Like a lot of my friends and stuff like played Minecraft all the time, and I just never really understood the appeal because there's not really an end goal. You just kind of screw around and like run around and make things, and it's like cool, I guess. But there's something to me. There's something kind of fundamentally missing playing a game like that. It doesn't quite do it for me. But maybe that's a me problem. Anyway, Stardew Valley is the farming game, I think. So the plot of land, I think it makes sense. It could be wrong, but I feel okay about it. Question 4, this is sad because it's San Francisco and I have no idea what the answer is. This rose is just one of many examples of art made by users of what app? The tough thing is that like I've seen this, like I've seen examples of art made by people like either hiking or biking or whatever they're doing, but I don't know what the app is. Like what? This is not like I have no idea. I'm gonna say Waymo, which I'm sure is wrong because that's like a self-driving car thing, but like I'm not gonna know it. Like I'm not even sure I'm gonna have heard of it, and even if I have heard of it, there's no way I'm pulling the name, so it's just not happening. Question 5. This diagram by Andrew DeGraff visualizes the paths taken by different characters in what film. This should be, I think, The Shining, specifically because, I mean, this is the Overlook Hotel, I assume, and then we have the maze, which it took me a second because I had to remember that there was a maze in the film. The film is so incredibly different from the book. Like as a standalone movie, it's good, but like I read the book, The Shining, and then I watched the film, and the whole time I was like, what is going on? Like this is so incredibly different from what I read that it was hard to even enjoy. And Stephen King hates the movie, and I totally understand why, because it's like this is like not this is not what I read. I'm not going to spoil any more in case you haven't seen or read it. But there are certain decisions in that movie that I'm just like, what the heck? Why did you even do this? Anyway, it's weird, but I think this is The Shining because there's a maze in the movie. Um, so yeah. Finally, question 6. This map is used in what strategy board game that is themed around World War One and requires players to undergo extensive negotiation phases? Best guess here is diplomacy. My other thought is like Risk, but it's definitely not that because this just isn't the Risk map. I've never played diplomacy, but I know that it's a game where you have like regions and stuff like this, and it's kind of a similar strategic setup, I think. So diplomacy is my best guess. It could be something else, but I'm not going to come up with anything better than that. So yeah, what do I enhance? Gulliver's Travels seems fairly easy. BA seems fairly easy. Honestly, I think I enhanced The Shining because I feel like if you haven't seen the movie, you're gonna have trouble getting this right. Um, I know it's a really famous movie, but everything else feels probably more gettable, so I'm gonna go with 5. Don't know if that's a mistake or not. We shall see. Yeah, okay, 5 out of 6. Strava, I've heard of it, like vaguely. Like that's a word I've seen written before, but I'm not getting that right. I don't know what Strava is. It's just not. Yeah. It's not something that's at all on my radar. So tough, I guess. But 5 out of 6 is fine by me. And we will head to quiz number 5, which is arts and literature, which is a category I tend to do pretty well with, but this is a fairly tricky quiz. So we'll see. Question 1. Which literary technique is sometimes formally notated as a series of phrases separated by 1 or 2 colons? An example of this format is Mary Wollstonecraft is to Mary Shelley as Alexandre Dumas père is to Alexandre Dumas fils. This is, of course, an analogy. I don't know. I feel like to non-native English speakers, this might be like, what the hell? Because I feel like this is a really weird way of notating it. I don't know if this is like common in other languages to do the whole like dots thing, but I've always found the dots thing to be really weird. But especially what bugs me the most is that, you know how like the first 2 are like is to, and then the 4 is like as. But like is 2 has 4 letters and it's 2 dots, and then as has 2 letters and it's 4 dots, and it drives me nuts. Like why? Like why isn't it 4 2 4? Like because you know what I mean. It's all backwards and I hate it. But I know, I mean, this is just how analogies are generally written, and at least in my experience. So yeah, question 2. The structure of a traditional sonnet includes a thematic element called the volta. In this sonnet written by William Shakespeare, what numbered line is the last line before the volta occurs? I don't know. I mean, I knew that the volta was a thing in a sonnet, but I can't tell you what it is. But I do know that the format of a sonnet is like, what is it? Like A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G, right? So it's like you have like 4 sets of 4, and then you have like a rhyming couplet at the end. And my thinking is like, maybe the volta is the place where it flips from like 4 to 2. Like you have the same scheme for the first 3 bits, and then you have the 2 at the end, that are like a completely different deal. So I'm going to say 12. I'm going to say it occurs after 12 between the ABAB parts and the little couplet at the end. But that's probably not what it is, but I don't know what the volta is, to be honest. So that's all I'm going to be able to do here. Question 3, what art form often used with young children because of its cost effectiveness and simplicity involves getting paper wet with water or a binder and allowing it to harden and dry. Depending on the method used, the paper is either torn into strips and pressed onto a form or made into pulp and molded. I think this is just like papier mâché. I can't do, for the millionth time, can't do accents on this keyboard. I know it has accents. I can't type them. But I think this is just what paper mache is. I mean, I haven't done it in, 20 years, but like, I think it's a thing I did once or twice when I was in like kindergarten. So that checks out, the whole young children part. And yeah, I mean, I think that's just what this is, to be honest. Wet paper. I mean, it literally means chewed paper in French, which is like kind of weird because you don't like chew it, but you know, it's close enough. And I can't think of anything else. So probably this. Question 4. The most common use of egg yolks in traditional painting was as a binding agent in what style of painting whose paints consisted of pigments mixed with egg yolk and thinned with water. It was standard until the invention of oil painting in the 1500s. I believe this is tempera. That is just the thing that, well, it's just the egg thing. I like tempera is just like the egg art thing. Anyway, question 5, the term pizzicato used in musical parts for string instruments like the violin indicates that the performers should do what? A description is acceptable. So I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's like, I mean, like when I hear pizzicato, I think, I guess my brain thinks of like, I associates it with like staccato, like, you know, like a kind of a quick, like, sound, like boom boom, like, you know what I mean. I think it's like plucking the strings is what it is. Like pluck the strings. Like if you pluck a string like that on a violin or something, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because it's like it's used for string instruments specifically. So like what's something you could do to a string instrument that you can't do to another instrument? It's like pluck the strings. And going into this question, like I don't think I could have told you exactly what pizzicato was, like off the top of my head, but I did associate it with like kind of a short, quick sound, which I don't know where I formed that association before, somewhere deep in my brain, somewhere, I don't know. But I think that's what it is, and I think, again, an action you would do to a string instrument to make that kind of sound, I think plucking the string just makes perfect sense. So hopefully I'm not wrong, but I feel okay about this one. And then finally, question 6, running one's finger up or down the keys of a piano produces an example of what effect with an Italian name. Trombones can perform this technique in a continuous fashion instead of having to play discrete notes in between the starting and ending notes. This, I think, is called glissando. I think that's what glissando is. I hope I'm not wrong. Again, I say that every time, but I'm pretty sure that's what glissando is. So as for what to enhance, I'm not sure I actually thought long enough about this one. 1 and 3 are too easy. I feel like tempera, how easy, I don't know how easy the music theory stuff is. Like pizzicato, like I don't know if that's like niche knowledge or just like common knowledge that I don't know very well because I don't know music theory. I'm gonna go with 4 because I feel like tempera is really not. I feel like that's really not that obvious. And plucking and glissando, these might just be things that everyone knows. Maybe tempera is a thing that everyone knows. I don't know, but I'm not positive that 5 or 6 is correct either. Like I feel pretty good about 4. I'm gonna go with 4. It feels like the best kind of hedge. Because I am slightly scared that I'm wrong about ones that feel correct, if you know what I mean. Okay. Oh, okay. So line 8. The volt has a turn or change in theme. Theme. Interesting. I guess the question did say the word thematic, didn't it? Yeah, I guess I should have paid more attention to that. I saw that, but I was like, I don't even really know what that necessarily means in this context, so I'm just gonna kind of ignore it. I should have read it more closely, but I was just like, I thought it was gonna be like a structural thing. But that's my bad. I think I probably should have spent longer on that question. Analogy is correct. Paper mache, tempera, indeed, plucking strings, and glissando. So that's 5 out of 6. Again, I felt pretty good about everything other than number 2. I wasn't positive that plucking and glissando were right, but I don't know. Is tempera really easy? And did I mess up on the enhancement? I'm not sure, but I don't know. It just felt like the safest thing for me to go for. I don't know. I tend to be pretty conservative with what I enhance because I really don't want to just be dumb and click something that I get wrong. So I thought there was every chance that I was failing because my confidence in my music theory knowledge is pretty low. Quiz 6 is history. After Henry II frustratedly asked, "Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" Four of his knights interpreted this as an order to travel to what city and kill the clergyman Thomas Becket. So I think Thomas Becket was Archbishop of Canterbury, which makes sense as like the head of the Anglican Church, etc., etc. Although, wait a second, wasn't the Anglican Church founded by Henry VIII, who was after Henry II? I'm pretty sure Thomas Becket was Archbishop of Canterbury. Even if it wasn't technically the Anglican Church, I think the Archbishop of Canterbury has been a thing for a long time, like a well-known thing for a lot. Honestly, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I don't know religious history, nor do I know English history very well. But I do think that this is what's going on because I'm pretty sure Becket is like the most famous Archbishop of Canterbury. Question 2. For a period of time, the ancient Roman orator and statesman Cato the Elder ended all of his Senate speeches by making the warmongering claim that Carthage must be destroyed. We had a Latin club at my high school, and at the end of all of the school assembly announcements that the Latin club president made, he would end with the sentence, Carthage must be destroyed. Question 3. The inventor Charles Batchelor once wrote a recommendation letter for a young European immigrant in hopes of getting directly hired by an American entrepreneurial bigwig, and it worked. Name either of these two figures, who decades later would represent alternate sides in a technological rivalry. I assume what's going on here is that the immigrant is Nikola Tesla, and the other guy is Thomas Edison, because the rivalry is the whole, like, what is it, AC versus DC thing? Just Tesla generally being more right about things and Edison taking credit for stuff. But yeah, I think that the big rivalry is surely Tesla and Edison. And of course, Tesla is Serbian, so he would be a European immigrant. So yeah, question 4. Anyone who has ever looked into the glazed eyes of a soldier dying on the battlefield will think hard before starting a war. What minister-president, who would later become the head of government, said these words? He was clearly speaking from a place of experience, given that he started and won the Austro-Prussian War, the Franco-Prussian War, and the Second Schleswig War in order to unify Germany. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Otto von Bismarck. I think of him as a chancellor, and the question doesn't say chancellor, which scares me a little bit, but Franco-Prussian, I associate Bismarck with Prussia, and I think specifically the Franco-Prussian War, I'm pretty sure was Bismarck, the blood and iron guy. Another thing that isn't mentioned here, but I don't have a better guess, honestly, like a German leader who unified Germany. I'm pretty sure that's Bismarck. Question 5, if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of blank, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. This begrudging compliment was given by Major Meredith in the aftermath of what conflict, which his troops lost even though they suffered no casualties except for their dignity. This is, of course, the Emu War, which is one of the most legendary military conflicts in history. Just absolutely hilarious. The emus were they were eating everybody's crops. They were wreaking havoc on the Australian countryside, and the Australian military was like, we're going to go kill them all because they're annoying us. And apparently, if you shoot an emu with a machine gun, it just keeps on running. So yeah, the humans lost the war, which is really funny. And if you haven't heard of this, go watch the Salmonella Academy YouTube video on it. It is fantastic. Just a very funny thing overall. Question 6. According to Plutarch, Philip II of Macedon once threatened Sparta by saying, "If I bring my army to your land, I will destroy your farms and slay your people." In a famous example of a laconic phrase, what was the Spartans' short reply? I don't know, which is tough because I minored in classics and I took a lot of ancient history and I know a lot of mythology and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm going to say this is Sparta, which pretty sure that's not what it is. I mean, that's from a movie, but I think that's just from a movie. I don't think it makes much sense, especially given Sparta is in the question. It feels it feels wrong, but I don't have a better guess. I don't know what this is. As for what to enhance, I got to enhance the emus because I think that's not super easy. That's just a fun little piece of history that I happen to know. Alrighty. On we go. If. Oh. Okay. So it's like if blah, blah, blah happens, then blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, if, but it's not going to happen. That makes sense, yeah. Becket was the Archbishop of Canterbury, Carthage, Tesla, Bismarck, Emu War, 5 out of 6. again, totally fine with that. I don't think I was going to get question 6. And finally, quiz 7. It's 8:55. I have to hurry. Though there's no agreed upon list of the Norse 9 realms, major realms located at the roots of the world tree, the most common ending for the names in the 9 realms is what suffix, which translates roughly as realm, between 4 and 6 of them end with this suffix. The suffix should be heim. It would be Niflheim, Muspelheim, Jotunheim, Alfheim, Svartalfheim, I think is a thing as well, like the Dark Elves. And then, God, oh, Helheim, right? Because Hell, it's Hell or Helheim, which is one of the ones that, anyway. And then there's Midgard, there's Asgard, there's what's it called? Nidavellir, or however you say it, or Nidavellir or whatever, as Chris Hemsworth says it. But anyway, no, I don't watch Marvel movies. I just saw a video on how to pronounce the word that mentioned how badly Chris Hemsworth butchered it. But anyway, I should really review those just so I remember exactly what they are. But I don't know. I think I just named like 8 of them, so that's good enough for now. Question 2, in Greek mythology, what name is given to the group of 9 children that Zeus fathered with the Titan Mnemosyne, goddess of memory? These are the Muses. I don't know, fairly straightforward. The 9 Muses are just famous in Greek myth. Question 3, while it is commonly called a menorah, the 9-pronged candle holder used by Jews on Hanukkah is technically called a Hanukkah. What is the name of the center candle on a Hanukkah which sits above the other candles? This is also the name of the sun god in Sumerian religion. This is hard. I have no idea. I'm going to say Marduk because I think that this is a Sumerian god, or at least like Babylonian. It might be different, but it's not like Ishtar. It's not like Enkidu. I don't know a lot of Mesopotamian gods, to be honest. I know that Marduk is one of them. Probably not a sun god. I doubt that the center candle on a menorah is called a Marduk, but who knows? Maybe. Question 4. The 9-pointed star seen below is part of the design of a temple for which religion, where the 9-pointed star is a common symbol. One of its core tenets is the idea of the oneness of God, which means that holy figures from disparate religions like Krishna, Zoroaster, and Muhammad were all manifestations of the same divine being. This is Baha'i. Again, can't type accents on this keyboard. Baha'i is, I don't know, the 9-pointed star is just it's a symbol I associate with Baha'i, and it's notably kind of a thing that brings religions together. Question 5. The Jamaican 9-night ceremony, a remembrance ceremony held 9 days after someone dies, comes from traditions of the Akan religion that was brought to the Caribbean by African slaves. Those slaves also brought over tales of witch god, a trickster who takes the form of a spider. Nowadays, this god features in religion and traditions in multiple Caribbean countries, including Haiti and Jamaica. The spider trickster god is Anansi. This is just kind of the most famous, like, African god, I think. Just spider trickster is just kind of a well-known thing. I say well-known, relatively well-known compared to other stuff, I guess. And finally, question 6, many Christian traditions have a 9th hour prayer, which happens at 3 p.m. and lines up with the time that Jesus is said to have spoken his final prayer on the cross. This 9th hour prayer and the crucifixion as a whole is recounted in which book of the Bible? The third of the 4 Gospels in the New Testament. It goes Matthew, then Mark, then Luke, and then John, so the third would be Luke. I don't know, again, I know almost nothing about the Bible, but one of the few things that I know is that the Gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. So, cool. I'm glad that they happened to hit on one of the things that I knew. So, as for what to enhance, I'm kind of between Haim and Anansi. I don't know how well known Anansi is outside of like Quiz Bowl circles, for example. I think I'll go with Haim though, because I feel like a lot of people might say Guard too, because of like Asgard and Midgard. That seems reasonably difficult to me. So I think I feel better about number 1, although this could be a mistake. But I think knowing the Norse 9 worlds is very much not trivial. Does this one count? Yes, it does. The Book of Luke, Anansi, Baha'i, Shamash. Wow, that's hard. Haim or Heimer, and then the Muses. 5 out of 6. I am totally okay with that. Submitted 1 minute before the deadline. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that was another very, very solid performance. I tend to be pretty decent at mythology, religion. I mean, okay, I'm bad at like Christianity, but like world religion and mythology, I tend to be okay at. So yeah, pretty solid performance there on what I think was a decently difficult quiz. And yeah, so I got a lot of 5s and a couple of 3s as well, I think. But on the whole, I think it was a solid week. I don't think I got 6 out of 6 at all. But it was a hard week. There were some really tough quizzes in there, but I really enjoyed them. Really fun questions as always, but there just happened to be some stuff that was very much not in my wheelhouse, especially quizzes 1 and 3. But yeah, on the whole, I think did I get five times? I think I did. That's actually quite solid. I'm not going to complain about that at all. So yeah, solid week. We'll see how solid in a second when scores are revealed. All right, scores are in. I finished in 6th on the week, which, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, again, there were a couple of tough quizzes. I'm decently happy with how that ended up. You can see the final leaderboard here. Congratulations to Bugtown Cowboy, Rasmus, and Saluna for rounding out the top 3. Bugtown Cowboy, absolutely nuts, by the way. 41 plus week 1, 41 as well. Like way above everybody else 2 weeks in a row, which is absolutely nuts. I'm not even sure who this is, to be honest, but insane performances. But yeah, happy enough with 6th. The quizzes, 1 and 3 were tough for me, but I got a lot of 5s, and I think my enhances looks like across the board were okay. Although actually the one on the 3rd quiz was very much not great. But hey, oh well. Was that the Globetrotters? Wow. Okay, that one apparently was way easier than I gave it credit for. Unlucky. But yeah, on the whole, decent. It's definitely I've had better weeks, but again, sometimes the questions just aren't really up your alley quite as much. So could have been worse. Season standings look a little bit like this. I don't know why I said a little bit. They just look like this. We'll hide this again. It's a Bugtown Cowboy with a commanding lead after 2 weeks. Saluna and Rasmus in 2nd and 3rd, and I'm just a little bit behind Rasmus in 4th place. So happy enough with that. I definitely, gonna need to do some work to try and catch up towards the top. But it's been a solid season for me so far. Hopefully you guys enjoyed another week of the LDQL. I certainly did, and thank you as always to Benny and Looney for putting the quizzes together. Wouldn't be possible without them. And yeah, they're just legends who are really good at writing trivia. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.